This is Group 2 of the cellular telecommunications industry, and to start us off is Michael.
Hi, how you doing? I'm Michael Radislovich, and I'm going to be going over the development of the cell phone industry. And there's 4 topics: new and emerging issues affecting business, new innovations in technology, government regulations, and also the business strategies in cell phone industries today. First, for new and emerging issues affecting business, Nokia has recently been sold to Microsoft for $7.2 billion. This is going to put Microsoft up there with Apple and Samsung as the heavyweight in the world of smartphones. Also, smart technology offers a promise of remote access to healthcare and education. Because of this, the power of the individual will increase and new competitors will emerge, disrupting these industries. And lastly, cell phone companies are now huge internet providers because of their new devices. Smartphones with data plans have begun to challenge the bandwidth in the industry, and because of this, cell phone companies are continuously having to upgrade cell phone towers since the first iPhone. New innovations, the iPhone 5 is the first to feature a dual processor, and this maximizes battery life in the phone. Now on to government regulations. Net neutrality affects all internet service providers, but especially affects cell phone internet providers. And the dispute between Verizon and the FCC. And Verizon and other large companies want to be able to manage their internet pipelines to enable people to access the internet faster than any others. The FCC is against this and wants to ensure equal access to everyone. And also in government regulations, the NSA wants companies to turn in call logs, not only in the US but also worldwide. Then lastly, current business strategies throughout the industry, and expanding Apple in China. Apple has made a deal with China Mobile, China Unicom, and China Telecom, which has over 400 million viewers, or customers, excuse me. For the first time, they've released a product in China and America at the same time, and this is expressing a parity between the US and China.
Next up is Caleb.
This is the history of telecommunications. In the 1930s is when telecommunications started. Most of these were made for the military, for their different things that they did in the military. In the 40s, the first hand walkie-talkie was created, and then throughout the 50s, 60s, and 70s, there was like giant boxes, and they toted them around. In the 80s, they made like the first mobile phone for you to like tote around with you, but it was in briefcases, and it was huge. Throughout the 90s, it paved the way for iPhones and Androids, and they kept going on until pretty much the iPhone and Androids. For industrial growth, if we didn't have telephones, we'd have to do everything the old-fashioned way and meet face-to-face, and that would be good. Telecommunications has a huge impact on industries, and the more money you have, the faster your industry grows.
All right, next up is Cooper.
Okay. Government regulations. Now, customers are notified of their limits before they have reached them in their contracts, such as like, the reason being is because of the hidden expenses that were associated with customers not knowing their limits. And now, like I said, the customers are notified, which means that they have reminders before the limit is hit. And also health information is provided to make sure that they don't like hurt themselves or for phone safety. Some issues that are emerging are advertisements, such as like during Pandora if you're playing music or if you're playing a game, like advertisements like in between sessions, and advertisements are always constantly updating, so the information is sold to companies constantly, and like this sort of has like a negative view to the customer because the customer doesn't want their information to be sold to other companies and also put into market databases based on their marketing trends. New technology would be like the iPhone 5S, which has the fingerprint identification, which serves as security, and the Nokia Lumia, which is a very high-tech phone camera hybrid. But nowadays, like, the battery drainage is becoming a huge issue with the new technology, and one of the, I guess, best benefits is high-definition screens. One of the strategies is like bundling, and that is highly negatively viewed because for the most part they are family oriented and they're just over the top, because if one person needs like one phone, they don't need 4 other phones to come after with the same contract, and so it's just over the top for one person.
Go.
Next to speak is Hayden.
The telecommunications has a number of sales trends developing in recent years. One of the most popular ones has been prepaid plans, with over 200,000 more subscriptions in the last year than the regular postpaid subscriptions. It's going to be growing in popularity even more. Sagging economy, low-income families, and the flexible pay options of per monthly basis instead of 2 years is bringing a lot more people into the industry. Cheaper smartphones is also a reason. People don't have to get the 2-year contract because they have prepaid plans. They don't have to get the subsidies, they have cheaper smartphones, all that. T-Mobile is only offering prepaid plans now. Also, tiered/shared data plans is another growing trend. More options, more subscriptions equals more subscriptions for companies. For example, AT&T has already started doing their family and single plans that range from 20 megabytes all the way up to different levels to 5 gigs for $50. This also cuts down on all the bandwidth usage that they have to deal with. They get more money per investment when they do it that way. Another thing they're doing is bundling, which offers even more options with TV, internet, phone, apps, DVR, that's all connected with bundling. AT&T's doing it, it's called U-verse. That you can build your own bundle with that, and it's bringing a lot more people into the industry. Also, the seasonality of products. Like most industries, there's ups and downs throughout the year with the telecommunication industry. It's the highest, of course, around Christmas time. It grows from Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and it keeps growing until Christmas where it crashes. And it keeps going down until about the springtime, about when baseball season starts, fantasy leagues, people getting out and about, doing stuff, they're on their phones, they're buying phones, they're breaking phones, they're getting more and more sales. It kind of goes down in the summertime until the start of the school year, people get more phones, more subscriptions, they got to get the newest thing going back to school. And football season as well is a rise. Economic fluctuations do affect the telecommunications industry, but not as much as most industries because people value their phones over most things. Prepaid subscribers, with the prevalence of that, people don't have to pay monthly bills as much. They don't have to pay them at all. If the economy's bad and they can't make the payment, they don't have to. So people can also choose smaller data plans, and fewer people are making the switch to smartphones when the economy gets bad.
All right. The target markets mostly indicate the tweens and teens within the market. Even though most people in the industry are from ages 18 to 28, however, most teenagers are the ones who break phones or need to replace phones all the time. They're attached to their phone as well, so you can see that when you walk around, all you see is people's noses in the phone. Most of those are teenagers or young adults. Especially middle-class teenagers who have more money from their parents and such. The psychographics of the mobile targets have 5 different sections. The up-to-dates, the social and curious, the busy and productive, the latest and greatest, and the just the basics. The up-to-date group is these people are typically driven to stay current news, weather, reports and stuff that are of current nowadays trends and stuff. They want to know real-time world news. The social and curious, these people are described as connectors, and they enjoy bringing others together and networking, such as social networking. They like to keep their friends and lives very social on the internet and stay connected to people they care about. The busy and productive, these groups are concerned with all the information related to their personal efficiency and their ability to cope with their busy schedule. They use mobile phones that are more portable, accessible, and convenient than traditional computers, and interested in anything that can help them manage their multiple priorities and demands, such as with a BlackBerry. The latest and greatest are these people who have to have the newest trends of everything. So when their new phone becomes the second best because a brand new phone comes out, they will either trash their phone or try their best to get the newest and upgrade. And the just the basics people is literally that. They just want email or text messages and phone calls. They don't want anything fancy or special. So they'll get the cheaper phones or the prepaid phones that just give them what they need, and that's it. Well, with SWOT, it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The strengths, there's a diverse portfolio of products and services. As I said before, everybody wants a different thing. So there's different phones to offer for each customer to benefit them in the best for their needs. You can go all the way from flip phones and razors to the new smartphones and iPhones. National and international services also is a strength, so you can go around the country and still be able to connect, or you can go out of the country and still connect to your service through international funds and stuff. They also have strong financial sheets, which help them keep a margin of profitability. For example, T-Mobile has an example of a 2-year % increase for the profit of the fiscal year. Weaknesses, they have a limited service access. So if you go out to the country, you might not have any signal out there and you might drop your calls. Also, limiting the countries they provide for. Some countries prefer more developed countries get the phones, but other countries who are less developed, such as places in Africa and such, need some servers to actually provide phones to them so that they can keep in contact with others too, such as those who don't even have a simple electrical stove or any kind of electrical services, yet they still have a cell phone to keep in touch with other people. Contracts is another weakness. There are a lot of 2-year contracts that'll trap you into a certain phone for a certain fee for 2 full years, and a lot of people aren't willing to make that commitment. Opportunities. Every industry has an opportunity to improve. In this one, they need to increase the mobile data and productivity variety so that they can connect more to the internet, or they have more options and more accessibility to their phone's apps. Or they need to decrease the malfunction percentages. So you have a phone that after a month it messes up. They need to decrease those numbers of people who have malfunctions within their phone because it causes negative numbers and names to their services. Also, growth in less developed countries, they need to put more of their companies into those less developed countries to get more income and more of a financial flow into. However, they do need to stay strong with the United States so that they can keep the place that gives them the most money continuing to give them the most money. With threats, there's an strict competition within this market. Everybody's out to get everybody in this market. There is no soft or passive competition in any part. Verizon is one of the most strongest cutthroat competitors out there. They are very determined to keep on top as they are right now. The economy can also cut down on other people because, for example, back in 2005, Europe's economy crashed in Britain, causing huge profit losses for T-Mobile, for example. And so if the U.S. were to crash, or any other country such as China or such, their economy were to crash, the company would crash with them. The industry competitive or market position, in order to guess the market position, you need to define the market. So you, did it cut out? Okay. Define the market. Landlines and cellular phones are one way. You need to determine which one is most efficient, whether it's landlines or whether it's cellular phones, depending on the area you live in. So if you live in the country, a cell phone with no service is not going to help you as much as a landline will. Prices and variation, price selection and variation. Different people live in different economies, so if you go to New York, the phones are going to be pricier than if you were to live in somewhere like Alabama, because the price of living is higher. The supply and demand within the region, out in Wyoming and Colorado, there isn't a high demand for these cell phones in the country, rural areas, because they don't get a lot of signal. And so they prefer the landlines over the cell phones. So the cell phone companies actually decrease in their demand, so their supply has to decrease as well. The competitive market position in the U.S., this one's you. I'm gonna cut that part out.
In the U.S., the wireless communication is an oligopoly. There are 4 main companies in the U.S. AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile.
All right, the next to speak is Taylor.
Okay, I'm talking about wireless communication as an oligopoly in the U.S. There are 4 major companies, and they are AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and Sprint. But most of AT&T and Verizon own 65% of the subscribers, which is 206 billion. Here you see a graph showing U.S. wireless providers' market share, which it shows that AT&T and Verizon own most of the share. Okay, AT&T's growth, they acquired regional service provider Centennial Communications, which, as doing this, they took over Puerto Rico. They also took over Alltel from Verizon, which gave them a much wider growth. And they were the first carrier to have a contract with Apple. Their market strategy was to take over the U.S. subscribers, which is almost impossible. Although AT&T has grown much, Verizon has grown more. They are the biggest subscriber in the U.S. Their revenues are up 6.8% in the first quarter of 2013, and they have a joint venture with Vodafone, but they are trying to take over their stock. As you can see in this graph, Verizon has the best service satisfaction by their customers. Also, in China, you have Unicom, Telecom, and China Mobile. China Mobile owns 66% of their subscribers. Their success has over 400 million subscribers, and in some cities they control 100% of the cell phones. They connected with the government to make the project to connect every village to become a monopoly with the government to get them to back them. In the UK, there are 5 main competitors: EE, Vodafone, O2, and 3UK. EE includes T-Mobile and Orange, and they are the main supplier of subscribers. EE means Everything Everywhere Limited. Around 28 million, they have around 28 million subscribers. The political aspect of telecommunications, you have campaigning for politicians. There's no way they could do and get out their voice without telecommunications. Other communications are with other nations and within our nations, which makes them stronger. And also the economic aspect. Some things that hinder our society is we rely too much on wireless telecommunications, and there's more wrecks now with texting and everything, but also it could not run effectively without it.